If you're looking to take your EDC photography to the next level and take a photo that looks like this, to make something that looks like this is the right video for you. First of all, I want to say I'm not a professional photographer. Everything that I know about photography, I learned from people in this community and amazing creators like Sam or Peter. And I know so many techniques thanks to their videos. And the most important part of my journey was that repetition, right? The more you take photos, the better you're gonna get at. And at the beginning, my photos were looking really bad. Well, at least that's what I think they looked. And it was okay. It was like flat and it didn't have a lot of depth and a lot of that emotion that kind of wanted to convey. The more I started taking photos, I started identifying my own style. And I always recall this video from Peter McKinnon that says, photography you can taste. And it was really interesting for me to know that all those textures that you find on your photos, they are reminiscent of the environment that you want to create. You don't need to have the latest camera or the most expensive light. Is you work with what you have. And that repetition is what is making you become better every single day with the photos you take. Today we're trying to recreate this same image but with the different conditions, and you're gonna start exploring this to see if it works for your own style. Just before I go to the video, I just wanna thank today's sponsor.
Hermano, tú tienes 76 suscriptores. Tú no tienes sponsors. 75 después del video.
And who are you?
No, bueno, ándale.
So here with me, I have 5 items for the photo I'm going to take. This is the EDC roll from Hitch and Timber. I'm gonna use this as a prop. I have the Chavez tag or TAK. Let me know in the comments if you know what tag stands for. Has a very nice action, a Bowler M390 steel. It's a pretty small knife and you can carry it well in your pockets. I would say pretty average. Then I have this custom Swiss Army knife made by Beaver Bladeworks. It has acid edge tools and this was custom made for me, and this model specifically is the Executive. Then I have my Vero Engineering Mini Fulcrum. I carry one of these pretty much all the time in my pocket. It's very functional. I also love the finishing, and you know I have to have a Vero product with me all the time. Then we have this item called Beer Bomb from Notorious EDC. It's a multi-tool and you have a pry bar here at the back, and you also have a bottle opener on the mouth, and you have other tools, but I carried this one with me mostly because it's a conversation piece. I love it. I think it's super unique. And last I have this Olight flashlight. I really like the size of it. It has a nice clicky button. I always carry a flashlight with me and it's super useful in many situations throughout the day. Alright guys, so this is the scene that I want to achieve. In this case I have this Godox softbox. It is massive, and actually this is a recommendation from Sam. And I have a tripod that it's holding this light. Now here I have the crate that I chose for my background, and I decided to place them this way. You also don't want to go that low because you may lose some important details of your items, but also thinking about the possibility of going completely flat lay. Sometimes it's very difficult to get some shadows and depth on your EDC. Now something I want to mention is that this light I have here with me is casting through your items kind of flat. So if you see there are no shadows here, right? It is kind of almost combining with your background. So I'm gonna try something different now. I'm gonna move this light and I'm gonna pass them a little bit to the back this way, so the shadows that you have on the items are not casting just from top to bottom, are a little bit more angled, and I'm looking for that shadow to appear on the bottom. So now as you can see, the light is a little bit more to the back and is not directly on top of the crate. And if you go into this perspective, you can see the shadow I was talking about. You can already see it here, right? Here on the Chavez on the bottom. If you look at this perspective, it's adding more volume to the items, and I think that looks pretty cool. Now I'm gonna put the camera in and I'm gonna start adding the other elements to the frame. Now the next step is thinking about items that could work well with your scene. So in this case, I have this hitch and timber. So thinking, where am I gonna place it? I was thinking as a reference from the photo that I'm trying to recreate. I may put it something angled, not very overpowering. Something here on the corner. I think that may look nice. Let's see. I'm gonna include this nautical rope. It creates that contrast between the colors and the textures of my background. I'm just testing at this point where could it look nice without interfere too much with what I have going on in my scene. Yeah, maybe something like that may work. Now you have your items, you have your lighting, you have your props. It's a nice background. You can just take the photo here, but because I want to take it to the next level, I'm gonna introduce this light Lancy light bar that I got. It's pretty cool because you can connect many of them and have this like very long bar, and you can have RGB colors and lighting, and you can control it well, and it's rechargeable. I have found that the style that I usually try to go with has different lights combined. So I'm just gonna try how it looks with some orange, reddish lighting. And what I would recommend is to not go against your shadows, because if you do something like here, which this light is casting from the bottom to the top, and your main white light is casting from the top to bottom, when you place it in the opposite way, it kind of cancels each other and it just looks odd. You go back to square one. So if I'm trying to go around, I try to go into the same position or where I had it at the beginning, which is top down from the right. Some of the reflections coming this way, painting the rope a little bit. And with that, it's telling that something else is happening on your scene, right? And I also get a little bit more texture on the bottom here. So let's try it out. Something that's kind of bothering me is this corner, because my floor is a wooden color, but it's different color than what you have here on your background. So a great way of masking that out is, just get this black cardboards, and I'm just gonna block that from my background. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take this photo and I'm gonna take it to post, and I'm gonna show you a couple of tricks. Now we're gonna edit this photo in Lightroom, trying to create this S curve to increase the contrast. I show you before and after. It's a little bit more contrast. I'm gonna go to the mask. I'm gonna create a radial gradient. I'm gonna do a mask just around my items. You wanna come here to this window and right click, invert gradient, and just lower my exposure a tiny bit. And then here you can see the before and after, and you added that vignette, which helps you pop your items. The other thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create another secondary mask. I try to paint the objects I have roughly. It doesn't have to be that accurate, because what I want to do is increase the highlights slightly bit to separate it even more from the background. You also don't want to go super high because you can see the difference. So I'm gonna go back to normal and just increase it slightly bit. The next part I usually modify on my pictures is the color mixer. So here, one trick I'm gonna do is I'm gonna increase that orange to give slightly bit more saturation. I'm gonna go to my mask on my objects and I'm gonna just decrease the saturation. Here I'm putting it 100% and here I am decreasing it. I try to play with the vignette adds a very dramatic look to my photos. I also play a little bit with the grain. I really like to see the grain and the texture. I usually go between the 30s range, and texture, I increase it a little bit more. All these materials benefit from that graininess, so I usually include it in the photos I'm taking. Something that I may modify is here at the bottom, I have a lot of attention in this corner. So I'm gonna create another mask, but I'm gonna do a linear gradient, and I'm gonna do it from the bottom. And what I'm gonna try here is just lowering the exposure slightly bit. So I think that's it, guys. So there you go, guys. I hope that you find something interesting. Let me know in the comments if you find this valuable, if you would like to see a series of this. And I want to remind you that the most important thing you can do is try. Just keep trying. If you don't know how to do it, there's amazing people in the community. Follow them, watch their videos, you're gonna learn. And then eventually you'll see one photo you'll take and you'll say, holy, this is the one I'm putting on my living room. I feel really happy with this photo. You know, there is this phrase that says, without commitment, you'll never start. Without consistency, you'll never finish. So take that in mind. I hope you learned something. Thank you for spending your precious time with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.